The Galactic Council once called humanity a friend. They said Earth was a valued member, a loyal ally that brought balance and courage to the stars. But behind the polished speeches and silver smiles, there was always doubt. The Council's older species never saw humans as equals. To them, Earth was a wild experiment that had grown too fast. For years, humans fought their wars. Earth's fleet stood between order and chaos, losing thousands of lives to defend worlds that never thanked them. Admiral Marcus Hale, a quiet and calm man with eyes hardened by battle, had served for 3 decades under the Council's flag. He had seen the arrogance of the other races, but he believed loyalty still meant something. Until the day he realized loyalty was a one-way path. The betrayal began without warning. It was a cold morning on Varela Prime, where the Council had gathered to discuss a security concern. Hale stood outside the chamber, waiting for news, unaware that the decision to destroy Earth had already been made behind closed doors. The Council accused humanity of developing forbidden technology, weapons that could disrupt galactic balance. They had no proof, but they didn't need any. Fear was enough. When the Council's order reached orbit, every alien ship turned its guns toward the human fleet. The first plasma blast came without a warning signal. The sky above Varela turned white, filled with explosions. Hale's flagship, the ECS Resolute, was hit across its side. The ship groaned as metal tore, and alarms filled every corridor. "Shields down to 30%, cried the operations officer. "Return fire," Hale commanded, his voice calm even as the bridge shook around him. Dozens of human ships tried to regroup, but chaos ruled the field. The Council's combined fleets, hundreds of cruisers and carriers, closed in from all directions. What had been a symbol of unity turned into a massacre. Ships that once fought beside humans now targeted them with precision. The Resolute's defense guns lit up the void. Human gunners worked until their hands bled, fighting enemies who knew their every tactic. Hale watched one of his oldest allies, the Kelrathi flagship Saren Val, turn its weapons on a helpless medical transport. The blast tore it apart. Thousands of wounded men and women vanished in fire. Hale's jaw tightened, but his voice did not shake. "Signal all ships. This is no misunderstanding. The Council has betrayed us." The communications officer hesitated. "Sir, they're calling us traitors. They say Earth plotted against them." Hale stared at the flames outside his viewport. "Then we will show them what traitors truly are." The human fleet scattered, each captain making the same impossible choice: fight to the last or flee into the dark. Hale chose survival not out of fear, but because someone had to live to tell the truth. The Resolute jumped to hyperspace with half its crew dead and its engines burning. Behind them, the last human carrier exploded, taking a dozen alien cruisers with it. Hours later, silence filled the bridge. Smoke drifted through the air. Men and women sat in shock, eyes red, hands trembling. Hale stood at the center, unbending. "They think Earth will surrender," he said softly. "They think we'll crawl back to them and beg. But they've just united us more than ever." Back on Earth, the United Defense Command received the transmission. Every screen flickered with Hale's brief message, static-filled but clear enough to hear his words. "They turned on us. We are on our own now." In cities across the planet, people stopped working and listened in silence. There was no panic, only quiet anger. The Council's betrayal spread through every colony and station. Miners on Mars refused to send ore shipments to alien buyers. Scientists in orbit shut down Council research projects. For the first time in a century, humanity stopped listening to anyone but itself. Inside the mountain headquarters of Defense Command, generals and admirals gathered. "The Council will come for us next," one of them said. "We can't win against their combined fleets." Hale's hologram flickered on the table. "We can," he replied. "They believe we have nothing left. They're wrong." He revealed the truth about the hidden shipyards beneath the Arctic ice. Facilities built in secret long ago, known only to a few. Their engineers had designed ships too advanced for the Council to approve. Experimental dreadnoughts with armor that bent light, engines that folded space. They had been locked away under peace treaties. Now those restrictions no longer mattered. Across Earth's territories, something awakened. The old factories on the moon began working again, their furnaces burning bright after decades of silence. Workers who once built mining ships now shaped hulls of war. In hidden labs, scientists returned to long-forbidden projects. They were tired of being told what humanity could not do. On the Resolute, Hale stood in the observation deck, watching the stars. Every scarred crew member looked to him for direction, and he gave them purpose. "We are not fighting for revenge," he told them. "We are fighting to remind them who we are." They thought we were tools. They forgot we are survivors. Each night the ship's crew held a quiet moment of remembrance for the fallen. They read the names of lost ships, and every name lit up on the main display until the screen glowed with thousands of lights. Hale never looked away. He carried every name with him. As the weeks passed, messages from scattered colonies began arriving, fragmented, but filled with determination. "Mars base ready for deployment," one transmission said. "Europa station rearmed," said another. Even the distant colony of Kepler 9, thought destroyed, sent a single message. Still alive. Waiting for orders, human unity grew from ashes. The Council believed that striking Earth would break its spirit. Instead, it ignited something older and stronger, an instinct to endure. Admiral Hale convened his surviving commanders aboard the Resolute. Holographic faces surrounded him, men and women from every part of human space. "They will come again," Hale said, "and they will find an enemy they no longer understand. We will strike not in anger but in resolve. For every life they took, we will show them that humanity cannot be erased." No one spoke for a moment. Then one by one they saluted. The preparation began. Engineers repaired broken fleets using whatever they could find. Old transport ships were turned into missile carriers. Civilian pilots volunteered for dangerous test flights. Every child on Earth learned what unity meant. Even the poorest nations shared resources freely. For the first time, Earth stood as one world. And as the new fleet began to take shape, whispers spread through alien space. The Council's spies reported strange movements near Sol. Their fleets scanned for human signals but found only silence. They called it fear tactics, thinking humans were hiding. They didn't realize that humans were waiting, building something the galaxy had never seen. Admiral Hale's final entry before the storm was short, recorded in his private log. "They thought betrayal would end us. They forgot that humanity was born on a world that killed everything weak. We adapt, we endure, and when the time comes, we strike." The Resolute drifted through the dark between stars, scarred but alive. Its engines hummed with renewed power. Around it, shipyards across the solar system glowed like fireflies in the black. The betrayal had done more than start a war. It had created something unstoppable. Humanity was no longer a servant of the Council. It was becoming a force the galaxy would soon learn to fear. The next time they saw Earth's flag, it would not be carried by diplomats. It would be carried by warriors who had survived betrayal and risen stronger than ever before. The months passed in silence, but the galaxy felt the tension like a storm waiting to break. The Galactic Council had celebrated too early. They believed humanity was broken, its fleets destroyed, its spirit crushed. Their leaders gave speeches about restoring peace and order, pretending the humans' disappearance meant the end of the problem. But deep in their hearts they knew something was wrong. The humans had gone too quiet. And when humans were silent, it never meant surrender. It meant preparation. In the frozen wastelands beneath Earth's northern ice, the secret shipyards roared to life. Towers of smoke rose from vents hidden in glaciers. Engineers worked without rest, welding massive hulls together, guided by a single purpose: to finish the Titan-class dreadnoughts. Each one was larger than any warship ever built by the Council. Their armor shimmered with adaptive plating. Their engines were wrapped in energy fields that defied known science, and their weapons could split moons apart. Admiral Marcus Hale stood on a metal platform high above the main dock, watching the ECS Resolute being rebuilt. The same ship that had barely escaped the betrayal now rose again, stronger and deadlier. Its name had become a symbol, whispered across colonies that had once been scattered. When the last plate was welded into place, Hale gave a single nod. Begin Phase 2. Around the solar system, human fleets assembled. Outdated cruisers were refitted with new engines. Transport ships were converted into gun platforms. Every world that had once depended on the Council now sent everything it could spare: metal, fuel, workers, and hope. Even colonies that had been lost for decades answered the call, guided by Hale's quiet message that spread like fire through the dark. They betrayed us. Now we stand together. The final stage came when the Titan fleet launched from the Arctic hangars. The ice cracked open as engines ignited, sending blue fire across the polar skies. Thousands watched from screens across Earth as the massive ships rose through the clouds, disappearing into orbit. For the first time in history, humanity had a fleet that belonged to no one but itself. Meanwhile, the Galactic Council met in its great chamber above Varela Prime. The alien leaders argued, uncertain why their patrols near Earth had gone missing. Some wanted to send peace envoys, others wanted to finish what they started. But before they could agree, sensors picked up something at the edge of known space, a fleet approaching at impossible speed. At first, they thought it was a glitch. Then the human transmission broke through the static. It was Admiral Hale. His calm voice filled every council channel. "This is the Earth Defense Fleet. You made your choice. Now face the result." Moments later, the void around the Karthus Rift lit up. Dozens of human ships emerged from quantum slip space, forming perfect battle lines. The Resolute led the center, surrounded by 6 Titan-class dreadnoughts. Behind them came hundreds of smaller ships, their hulls marked with the flags of Earth's colonies. The Council's fleets scrambled to respond. Admirals shouted orders, confused by the speed and precision of the human formation. The first volleys from the Council's ships hit empty space as the human dreadnoughts shifted positions faster than expected. Then the counterattack came. The human cannons fired, each blast cutting through alien shields like paper. The sky filled with blinding light as cruisers exploded in every direction. Hale's voice echoed across the fleet's channel. "Target command ships. No retreat. No mercy for betrayal." Within minutes, the Council's front line collapsed. Their ships tried to scatter, but the human fleet moved as one. Every maneuver was calculated, every strike exact. Years of serving under the Council had taught humanity how they fought, and now every weakness was being used against them. Aboard the Resolute, the crew worked with perfect rhythm. "Enemy formation breaking, Admiral," shouted the sensor officer. Hale watched the tactical map. "Hold formation. Advance 10 kilometers. Focus fire on the flagship." The main guns of the Resolute charged, humming with deep power. When they fired, the beam tore through the alien flagship's hull, splitting it in half. Silence followed for a heartbeat before the entire ship erupted into flame. Across the fleet, human crews cheered, but Hale raised his hand for quiet. "This is not victory," he said. "This is justice." The battle raged for hours. The Council's reinforcements arrived, only to find the human dreadnoughts waiting. Plasma storms swirled across the battlefield, lit by the burning remains of hundreds of ships. The aliens had numbers, but humans had something stronger, a shared fury and the unshakable will to protect their own. One by one, the Council's fleets fell. Hale gave no cruel orders, only clear commands. He refused to destroy escape pods or strike medical ships. This war was not about revenge. It was about ending the illusion that humans were servants. When the last enemy ship fell silent, Hale ordered a ceasefire. "Transmit this message to every world," he said. The communication officer nodded and sent it through every open channel in the galaxy. Hale's voice filled the stars. "This is Admiral Marcus Hale of the Earth Defense Fleet. The Galactic Council betrayed humanity and murdered our people, but we will not repeat their cruelty. We do not conquer. We remember. Let this battle stand as a warning. Never again shall any species decide the fate of another." Across alien worlds, the word spread faster than fire. Some species who had once feared humans now lowered their weapons. Others offered surrender without a fight. For the first time, the galaxy understood what it meant when humans united, not in hatred but in purpose. Back on Earth, the transmission played across every screen. People gathered in silence, watching the stars. They saw the fleets returning home, scarred but victorious. There was no celebration of destruction, only pride and grief for those who had fallen. Children pointed at the ship streaking across the night sky, and elders whispered that the age of humanity had finally begun. Weeks later, the Council's surviving members came to Earth under a white flag. They stood before Hale in the old United Nations chamber, which had been rebuilt as the seat of the new alliance. Their faces showed fear, but Hale's expression was calm. "You came to end us," he said. "Instead, you gave us unity. From this day forward, no council will ever rule again. Every world will govern itself, and peace will come through respect, not control." The treaty was signed, marking the end of the old order. Humanity did not take vengeance. They took leadership. The galaxy's balance had shifted forever. That night, Hale returned to the Resolute. He stood alone on the observation deck, looking at the stars that once seemed endless and cruel. Now they felt closer, as if waiting for something new. He thought of the countless lives lost, the sacrifices made, and the strange irony that betrayal had given humanity its greatest strength. Commander Riley, his first officer, stepped beside him. "Do you think they'll ever trust us again?" she asked quietly. Hale smiled faintly. "Trust is earned. We'll show them who we are, not with fear but with honor." Outside, the human fleet drifted silently, their lights blinking across the dark sky. The Resolute glowed softly among them, its hull scarred yet proud. It had carried humanity through betrayal, through pain, and into a new beginning. The galaxy would remember this day not as the day humans destroyed their enemies, but as the day they rose above them. Every race that had once looked down on Earth would now see the truth. The humans were not monsters, not rebels, but survivors who refused to die quietly. And as the stars turned slowly beyond the window, Admiral Hale spoke a final promise meant for no one but himself. "We were betrayed," he said softly, "but we are still here, and we will never fall again." The Resolute turned toward the unknown reaches of space, engines flaring bright. The fleet followed behind, united under one flag, one purpose, and one unbroken spirit. Humanity had endured its darkest hour and answered it with unmatched fury. The stars themselves seemed to shine brighter as they moved forward, carrying the hope of a new age born not from conquest, but from survival.